I'm Kudos, and I've been playing Rainbow Six Siege since 2017. I've met so many friends throughout this experience, traveled to so many events in countries, and had so many great opportunities because of this game. And with Siege X opening the door to so many new players thanks to it now being free to play, except from Ranked and Siege Cup, I feel like I should use all of my knowledge to make an ultimate newcomer's guide to Rainbow Six Siege. I'll have all of the different sections timestamped, so if you want to know specifically about sounds or maps, you can look for the specific chapter. I want to make this as newcomer friendly as possible, but also still allowing as much detail as possible. So if you still have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section below, or even join my Discord, which you can also find linked in the description. Welcome to the R6 community, and let's get straight into this guide. So when you load into the main menu, you're going to find two sections. We have Core Siege, and we also have Dual Front. Dual Front is a complete new addition to Rainbow Six Siege, which released alongside Siege X, and we're going to talk about that later in the video because that isn't the main mode of Siege. The main mode of Siege is Core Siege itself. This is the 5v5 mode with attackers and defenders. Now, we have a few different modes here. The first being Quick Match. This is your ultra casual mode. You can leave without getting any abandon sanctions. If you just want to jump on and play, not care about rank, not care about anything else, this is the most casual entry mode. We also have Unranked, which is exactly the same as Ranked, but with just no elo gain or any ranks itself. This allows for that more competitive style of gameplay, but still without the burden of gaining and losing MMR and worrying about what your rank is. The next is then pretty obvious, it's Ranked. This is the main competitive mode of the game, where you progress through ranks, and it's where you take the game a bit more seriously. And next up we have Siege Cup. This is the tournament-based mode, which happens every week, and it's pretty similar to the style of Ranked, but in a fixed format. You have to enter with a stack of 5, and you get put into a bracket, and it's, like I said, a tournament, and you have to win the winner bracket. You can fall into a loser's bracket, and of course your goal is to win. The Siege Cup takes place at predetermined days of the week by Ubisoft themselves, so it isn't just a mode you can boot up and click anytime you want. These are predetermined tournaments, which as of now are going to be starting every week. Moving over to the training section, you have your tutorials. You probably should have already played these when you started the game itself. If I'm not wrong, they're actually a requirement when you start the game, but that's where you can find them if you want to play them again. We also have Landmark Drill. This takes you into a map with no enemies and just tells you how to get to different rooms, and it's sort of a drill exercise to help you understand callouts more, as well as different locations and ways to navigate all the maps in the game. Shooting range is in its name. It is a shooting range where you can switch operators, try all the different weapons, get detailed stats and different ways to test out the weapons themselves. You can add a wall, for example, to see how much bullet penetration then goes through it. And this is where you'll find your aim training as well. And something which is very good is that you can actually enter the shooting range whilst you are queuing for matches. You don't have to be queuing for a match to enter it, but you do have the option to enter it if you're searching for a game, so you can practice while in the background the game is finding you a lobby. We also have Deathmatch. You actually have the option of free-for-all inside of this as well. This is an online PvP mode against other players with respawns turned on. And again, it's more of just an ultra casual mode, which is great for warming up your aim, testing weapons, and just getting a feel for maybe a new gun, which you've never used before. This takes place on all the same maps as usual Siege does, but it also has its own exclusive map known as Close Quarter, built for the more TDM style of gameplay. Again, this isn't a main mode of Siege. It is more just for fun, casual, and training. Next up, we have Target Drill. It's quite similar to Landmark Drill, but instead of it telling you to find locations on a map, you fight your way across different enemies throughout the map who will be standing in some common positions where players will typically stand in a room. Again, just helping you learn the basics of Siege itself, getting you into that rhythm, and giving you the freedom to do it on an endless loop until you're satisfied. The last mode currently in the training section is known as Field Training. This is also the newest mode in this section, and this is where you can play Core Siege style gameplay against AI. Unlike the other training modes, which use like generic enemies or dummies, the AI playlist makes you play against other operators, which the game is controlling. And this AI is extremely smart because it has been studying how people play this game, which actually results in the AI being very impressive, and I even struggle sometimes playing against them when I put it to a bit of a harder difficulty. This gives you the best reflection of what a real match is actually like, without the issue of having to actually play against real players or potentially making mistakes with real players on your team. And the third section here is Custom Game. pretty self-explanatory. You can create a local custom game, which is if you're playing on a LAN, or maybe you just want to go into a game yourself, you can do that. Or you can do an online custom games where you can then invite your friends into the lobby, maybe do some 1v1s, maybe even host your own tournaments. There's a lot of customization here. You can change a bunch of stuff or use some of the predefined modes. But yeah, it's your typical custom games you'll find in any game. Right, going back to the main essential modes of Siege, I want to address something, which is the game modes inside of them itself, because Siege actually has 3 game modes in core Siege, known as Hostage, Secure the Area, and Bomb. These have been the 3 game modes which have been in Siege since the start, and although are quite similar to each other in gameplay, do have a different primary objective. Hostage requires attackers to escort the hostage from the building. Bomb requires attackers to plant a disabling device to deactivate a bomb inside of the building. And Secure the Area requires attackers to enter the building and take control of a certain area for a certain period of time. All 3 of these modes still exist inside of Quick Match itself, and you can turn them off and on. If you only want to play Hostage, for example, you can turn the other 2 off, but queuing Quick Match will give you any of these 3 modes. However, over the years, it did show that one of these 3 game modes fit Siege the best, and that was Bomb. So in unranked, ranked, Siege Cup, and then the higher end esports side of Siege, Bomb is the only game mode inside of them. Bomb just best represents Siege, and it's the most balanced, it's the most tactical, it complements the gameplay the most out of the 3 modes, so by all means, that is the main objective of Rainbow Six Siege. But Hostage and Secure the Area still live on in Quick Match and custom games. Now let me explain the rules of these modes in a bit more depth. We'll start with Bomb since it is the most important mode, and it will also help explain the other 2 as well. So in Bomb, defenders choose a location for their bomb sites. There are always 2 bomb sites attached to each other. Sometimes they are directly touching between a doorway, sometimes there'll maybe be a room between them. And on some maps, they'll even be above and below each other. But they'll always be touching in one way, shape, or form. Now, the goal of the defense is very simply prevent the attackers from entering either of these bomb sites and planting a diffuser. You can do that by either killing all 5 attackers or simply just stalling them until the timer ends. Because if the action phase timer reaches 0 and no diffuser has been planted, defenders will win. Doesn't even matter if 5 attackers are still alive. If that diffuser hasn't been planted in that time, defenders win that round. If attackers want to win the round, they can either A, kill all 5 defenders as well. They can win the round by not planting the diffuser, but a more consistent way of winning the rounds, because it tears down the defense itself, is by coordinating a push, taking site, and then planting that diffuser. Only one person on the team has that diffuser, and you can pass it between each other. And once that diffuser is planted, it will begin its diffusing timer, and if you successfully protect that diffuser until the timer reaches 0, you win the round. But just beware, defenders now have the capability to disable the diffuser, and if they do that, they win the round. So just because you've got that diffuser planted doesn't mean you've won yet. That's why it's important to get map control, hold crossfires, and be in a good position before you go for a plan. If you don't have the diffuser, you can't plan. So make sure if you are playing as the operator who has a diffuser in your hand, don't just run into the building and get killed, because then defenders can protect that drop diffuser, and you're putting your fellow attackers in a terrible position. Now, you may have heard me mention action phase as well. In Bomb, Hostage, and Secure the Area, you have a preparation phase and an action phase. In the prep phase, defenders have 45 seconds to set up their bomb site, place some gadgets, reinforce walls, get ready for that attack and push. Your operators are locked in here, and you're setting up for the round which is about to begin, and preparing for that assault. Now on the flip side, during this prep phase, attackers will all be on drones. It is here where they'll be able to scout out the map, see what operators the defensive sides have brought, see how they're setting up the bomb site itself, and if they want to, they are able to change what attacker they are playing as to suit the attack they are about to commence. That is why it is important to drone during the prep phase, so you know what you're getting into and can prepare for it. Remember, however, your drones can be destroyed by the defenders and be countered by other operators as well, so make sure you use them smartly. I'm going to have a section in this video about drones and cameras, but that'll be a bit later. I want to keep talking about the game modes themselves right now. But yeah, there'll be no combat happening in the prep phase. This is a time for both sides to prepare for what is about to happen, and then when the prep phase ends, we go into the action phase, and that is when attackers now spawn in, and the main goal is trying to be achieved. So I explained how bomb works, let me quickly explain how both secure the area and hostage work as well. So in secure the area, you have your exact same prep phase and action phase which bomb has, but of course the objective is now different. Instead of attackers entering the building to plant a diffuser, their goal is to take control of a room. Similar to bomb, if all the defenders are killed, attackers win regardless, and if all the attackers are killed, defenders win regardless. But you can also win by going for the objective itself. If defenders are not inside of the room and an attacker walks in, it will begin the capture process. If a defender walks in whilst an attacker is capturing, it will then contest the objective and the progress will stop. And sometimes secure the area can get a bit annoying here because even if the main timer expires at the top, if the objective is contested, the game will keep going until either operator leaves the site or one of them kills the other, which can lead to some pretty long stalemates. It's not common, but it used to happen a lot back in the day. But of course, if the defender then clears that room of attackers, the progression will then stop. It's your hardpoint style of game mode, something you've probably seen before in other games. Just the objective doesn't move during the round. And finally, hostage, again, pretty similar to the other two. You have your prep phase, you have your action phase, but here attackers have to enter the building, extract the hostage safely back to a extraction point outside of the map. If all attackers die, defense win. If all defenders die, attack wins. The goal of the defense is to simply stop the attackers from picking up the hostage. But do beware, the hostage can die. So if you're an attacker of a grenade, for example, watch you don't throw it at the hostage, because if you kill the hostage, defenders are going to win. Same if you're a defender, if you kill the hostage by accident, the attackers win. So those are your 3 different gameplay modes of Rainbow Six Siege, with bomb being the main one. Now let's jump over to maps, because maps are very important in Rainbow Six Siege. As I'm recording this video, Ubisoft are in the process of upgrading and modernizing all the maps in the game. If you're watching this video during Operation Daybreak, 5 maps have had this treatment, being Border, Clubhouse, Bank, Chalet, and Cafe, Dostoevsky, and they're doing this to more maps every single season. So when I'm talking about maps, I'm going to use these ones as the example since they are the norm going forward, but just know all the maps are still in the game even if they haven't been upgraded and modernized yet. So Siege has a lot of maps. Some are better regarded than others, so we do have a bit of a split map pool. In Quick Match, you have access to all of the maps in the game. Like I said, this is your ultra casual friendly mode, so there isn't a restriction on the map pool. You can play every map in the game. However, Ranked has a bit of a smaller map pool due to the fact that these maps have been deemed more competitively viable than the other maps, so it does have a smaller pool of maps. And of course, all of this is subject to change if Ubisoft reworks a map or introduces a new map to the game, or maybe even deems a map no longer competitively viable. They will switch them in and out, but that's not very common. Unranked is a bit fun because it actually has a map filler option, allowing you to play all the maps in the game, so pretty much the same map pool as casual, but in a more competitive environment. Or you can switch it to only being the ranked map, so it's more of a true reflection of ranked itself. Or you can even set it to just the non-ranked maps. So these are all the maps which are in Quick Match, but not in ranked. It just gives that choice for the players. So maps, of course, have a lot of destruction to them. That's one of the biggest aspects of Siege itself. Now, something you'll quickly realize is that not every single part of the map is destructible. Certain walls and floors will just be unbreakable. There's nothing you can do to change that. They are just solid, static parts of the map which will never change. However, you will have walls which do look a bit different, implying that they can be destroyed. Same with the floor as well. And you even have these things known as hatches, which allow you to drop from a higher level to a lower level. Destructible floors, walls, and hatches can all be shot through, for example. So if someone's on the other side, you can just start shooting your gun and it will kill them. They can be blown up with explosives. You can make little holes in them by punching them. They can be manipulated by you. Now, let's say you're a defender and you don't want someone coming over and shooting through this wall or making an explosion so they can enter through it. Well, you have the option to reinforce that wall. All defenders have a pool of 10 reinforcements. Every time you reinforce, it takes one from that pool. So make sure you're coordinating with your team and not accidentally using them all. But reinforcing a wall makes it now completely bulletproof, as well as no longer destructible. Let's take Sledge for example. He walks up to a destructible wall, which going forward I'm going to refer to as a soft wall, which is the commonly referred name for this in Siege. But he walks up to a soft wall, swings his hammer, and it makes a hole he can now walk through or use as a line of sight. Well, if this wall has been reinforced by a defender, Sledge's hammer can no longer break through since it is now in a reinforced state. He can destroy the soft wall, which was once there, but there's still that reinforcement blocking it. That is when you're going to have to start bringing some other operators such as Thermite, who has the ability to destroy reinforced walls. But we're going to get into operators more in this video. Let's keep talking about maps themselves. So you can reinforce soft walls to make them bulletproof and also prevent to attempt entry points. Well, you can also do this to hatches as well. Using a reinforcement on a hatch, which takes it from the same pool at the top, will then cause the hatch to also be bulletproof and no longer considered soft since it's in its reinforced state. Again, doesn't mean the attackers are out of luck, there are ways to deal with this, but it just makes that defensive setup stronger. If you're in a bomb site below a hatch, for example, if you just left it soft, attackers would be easily able to destroy it and have an entry point directly into site. Reinforcing it, you're now slowing down that push, because they then have to deal with opening this up. Destructible floors are the only thing which can't be reinforced. So just know if you are standing on a destructible floor, there is a chance someone will try and make holes in it or potentially even shoot you through the floor. They'll have to get quite a good precise shot for that though. Don't worry, you can't fall through the floorboards, the metal beams prevent that, but of course you can then be seen through the holes themselves. Also keep in mind, some gadgets will fall through the floor as well. But don't worry, your drones will be fine, they can't fall through floors. Now, another thing which defenders can do to manipulate a map is barricading a doorway. A barricade has an unlimited use. You don't have a pool of these like you have with reinforcements. You can barricade as many doors as you want, tear them down, break them, place it again. There is no penalty for this, other than the fact that you may be doing it in a dangerous situation. Barricades are also not bulletproof, they are easy to be destroyed. You can destroy one in just 3 hits, or you can hit it twice then barge through it. You can even simply just shoot one down. And as a preset, all of the exterior doorways and windows on a map will have a barricade on them when you spawn in. It's your choice if you want to remove any of them or place more on interior doorways. Barricades are good though for slowing down pushes due to the fact that when they are destroyed, it gives away a sound cue so you know that someone is pushing there. And although they aren't bulletproof, it does just visually protect you sometimes because they can't necessarily see you on the other side of it. There is such thing as a bulletproof barricade with the gadget which Castle has, but again, I'm leaning more into operator gadgets here. We'll talk about them in a bit. Defenders also have access to cameras on the map. All of these cameras have been pre-placed and are in static positions, which are there as a constant of the map itself. They don't move every time you load up the map, for example. They are always in the same location, and every single defender can access their phone to see a live feed of these cameras and see where attackers are pushing. Attackers can destroy these easily, just a single shot will destroy them. But even if a camera's been destroyed, that gives you an indicator from where they're coming from since that camera has been shot. Again, there are more cameras available for the defense to use, but that comes from operator gadgets and secondary gadgets, something we will get into. But as a default, maps always have these cameras around them known as default cams. Right, let's move over to the attack because they have their own little usages as well. The first thing being drones. We've already looked at drones a little bit when talking about the prep phase, but every attacker as a default has 2 drones. The first one being the one in the prep phase and the second one spawns in your pocket. Both of these can coexist. You can set one up during the prep phase in a certain location, which will use an entry point, and it will still be there in the action phase, and you still have full control over it. Some people during the prep phase save their drone just by keeping it outside and going and picking it up again. Your 2 drones can be used to their full potential alongside each other, so just keep that in mind. And I know I'll get some questions about this. No, there is no limit to how long you can use the drone. There's no battery on them or anything. You can sit on them the entire round. The drone battery system is only a part of Dual Front, which is the separate mode which just came out. That's why I want to talk about that mode in its own section, because it does sort of differentiate some of the core basics of Siege. But just know that Dual Front isn't the main primary mode of Siege, so anything that does differently, kind of just disregard that for now. Well, not only do attackers have the ability to drone, they also have the ability to scale buildings buildings by rappelling. More recently, you can also now rappel around corners, which is a really fun addition to the mechanic and makes it a lot more streamlined. Just know, not every single location will have a rappel option to it, but that is the main way that attackers are able to scale buildings, play on windows, enter through windows themselves by breaching them. It gives the attackers a lot to work with when assaulting the building. Also, a rule of thumb for the cameras as well, defender cameras cannot leave the building. If you have some defender cameras that move, or you have ones that you can throw outside, they will lose connection after a couple of seconds unless you bring them back inside in that time. Attackers don't have this restriction. Attackers can obviously just drive their drones inside the building and get the info they need. There are also two forms of scans on cameras as well. The first is a hard red ping. This will scan the area and reveal the location of an enemy to your team. Just know that enemy will get a notification saying they've been spotted. It doesn't say where they've been spotted from, but it just lets them know that they have been pinged. The next is a soft yellow ping. This is more of a directional based ping, telling people, hey, maybe you should go over here, or we should breach this, but you can technically also ping someone as well, and they will not know that this yellow ping has appeared by them. You can also ping gadgets and utility as well to relay this information to your team. Now, something which is a part of the new upgraded modernized maps and why I want to focus them on this video, since they are the norm going forward as more and more maps get them, are the new destructible environments. The first of this is a fire extinguisher. These will be in static positions throughout the map. Again, they don't move. These are predetermined locations, and when they are shot by either the attackers or the defenders, something you need to realize here is that neither side own these. These are just neutral parts of the map. The same way that neither side of the map owns blowing up a wall, for example. Each side can shoot a wall open if they want to. No side actually owns that wall. That's the same with these new environmental items. So if you shoot a fire extinguisher, it will deploy a little cloud of gas for a few seconds. It's not very long at all, but this gives you the opportunity to use this for some cover. And if this does explode beside an operator, whether it's an attacker or a defender, it will also concuss them for a few seconds as well, due to the fact it exploded right beside their head. The next environmental item is a gas pipe. Shooting it once will cause a stream of fire to come out, and standing in this stream will cause you to take some tick damage over time. Now, eventually, this will continue until the gas will turn blue, indicating that the pipe is about to explode. Standing too close to the pipe will cause you to just blow up and die, and as well as this, it will also cause an area of effect of fire to appear, and pretty self-explanatory, walking into this fire will cause you to take damage. Again, this will affect both attackers and defenders. Nobody in this game is immune to fire, despite what side explodes it, or even if you bring a Goyo, for example, who is a defender who brings explosive packs, his fire will still affect his teammates and himself. And the third and final environmental item as of now are the metal detectors. These will cause an audible alarm to go off when anyone in the game walks through them, and they can be temporarily disabled using EMPs, we'll talk about that in a minute, or they can just be completely destroyed with explosives. So those are the three environmental items which are present on the upgraded modernized maps. As of the time of recording in Operation Daybreak, there's only 5 of these maps which have had this treatment, but we know that every season 3 more maps are getting this treatment as well. So just keep that in mind going forward, that this is starting to be the new norm for siege maps. Now let's start to take a look at operators. From a default standing point, every operator has a primary weapon, a secondary weapon, a primary gadget, as well as the choice of a generic secondary gadget. You can mix and match your loadout if you want. You have to have one primary and you have to have one secondary. You can't bring 2 secondaries and you can't bring 2 primaries. These are slots which are filled, and some operators have a bit more of a choice than others. Like Scopos, for example, her loadout is pretty set because she only has the choice of 1 primary, 1 secondary, and then you have your secondary gadgets, which are generic side-specific gadgets. And not every operator has the freedom of choice of what ones they can choose from. So at the time of recording, attackers have 7 generic secondary gadgets, the first being a breach in charge. This allows you to blow up holes in soft walls, soft hatches, and soft floors. We also have the Claymore. I think a lot of you probably know what a Claymore is, but if you don't, it's a small explosive device that gets triggered if an enemy walks into its lasers. Once triggered, it will explode and kill the enemy, making it especially good as a flank watching device. But just remember, like most stuff in this game, they're not indestructible, they can also be shot, so make sure you're using them effectively. We have the Impact EMP Grenade. This is a small electronic disabling device that can be thrown at electronics to temporarily disable them. I'll give the example of the metal detectors we were just talking about. Throwing one of these at that will disable it, and you can visually see that it's disabled, meaning it will not be able to do its purpose. But just remember, this is temporary. We have the Frag Grenade, which is an explosive grenade. Throwing it at an enemy will cause them to either die if they're in the explosion radius or force them out of position. Since this is an explosive, it will also destroy utility as well. We have the secondary hard breach charge, which allows us to make a hole in a reinforced wall. As well as this, one of these will also open up a reinforced hatch as well. We do have operators in this game which specialize at hard breaching, but something you'll quickly learn in this game is that every operator has their own little gimmick. So just having a generic secondary hard breach charge doesn't necessarily mean it's going to replace an operator like Thermite, who can make a really big hole in the wall, or like Hibana and Ace, who can do it at range. It's these little strengths and weaknesses between everything here, which you'll just learn from playing. We have the option of a smoke grenade on attack, which throwing it down will deploy a ball of smoke. This is great to use as cover when you are rotating over dangerous angles, and can be exploited by the attacking operator Glaz, who has a thermal vision on his scope which can see through smoke. But just beware, there is a defender known as Warden who can do the same thing with his smart glasses. And as of the time of recording, the final attacking secondary gadget is the stun grenade. This very simply will blind anyone who is looking at it, even your teammates as well, so make sure you're throwing them well. And again, there is an operator who can counter this if he uses his gadget, which is Warden. But don't worry, I'll explain a lot more operators as well. But like I was saying, although they are all the generic gadgets which attackers have the option of, every attacker has a limited choice of those items. So Thatcher, for example, only has the option to choose between the Claymore and the breaching charge itself. This is something which is done as a balancing perspective and can change each season depending on if Ubisoft need to buff or nerf an operator. And this is on top of the operator's primary gadget. Every operator in this game has their own unique gadget, their own unique gimmick. This doesn't replace that. The only operators which are a wee bit different is Striker on attack and Sentry on defense. Narratively speaking, they are the generic soldiers, the recruits. So from a gameplay perspective, their unique ability is just the fact that they can bring another secondary gadget. And they also have the option of all of them. So it does make them a bit of a unique operator in that sense for both sides. But for the most part, every other operator has their primary gadget and then the secondary gadget which they have a choice of, both of which they bring into the field with them. Now let's take a look at the generic defending secondary gadgets. The first of which is barbed wire. When barbed wire is placed down, it will slow attackers that walk through it, as well as giving away a bit of an audio cue as well, since they will be rustling through it, and it will also slowly damage them as well. Doesn't do a lot of damage, but it will hurt them a little bit. The next is a bulletproof camera. This is a camera which you can place on walls and floors, and anyone on your team can now access this camera on top of the default cameras which already exist on the map. Not only this, bulletproof cameras also have an EMP blast ability to them as well. Remember the impact EMP I was talking about a second ago, which attackers have, is pretty similar to that, but on a defensive scope, and can be used to disable attacking electronic gadgets for a very short period of time. And the pretty obvious thing here is in its name, it's a bulletproof camera. There is a protective bulletproof glass in the front of this camera, meaning it can't be shot head on. Any explosives will destroy it with ease, and the rest of the camera, other than the front bit itself, isn't bulletproof. So if it gets shot at the side, it will get destroyed. It's only the front part which is bulletproof. You can also shatter the glass on them as well. If an attacker doesn't have the ability or the position to destroy the sides or blow it up, they can just shatter the glass so you can't see on the camera, but you can still hear through it. I forget how much the bulletproof camera can do sometimes. The next secondary gadget is the deployable shield. This is a bulletproof cover that can be placed in pretty much every location. Sometimes you can't do it just because it won't fit, because there'll be objects blocking it. So you do have to use a bit of common sense sometimes and understand that there'll be locations where you can't place a shield, but for the most part, you can place it pretty much anywhere. You can even place them on doorways and it will fit nice and snug in the doorway. And they even have little bulletproof bits of glass in them as well, so you can see through them, which can also be shattered as well by punching them. These can also be easily destroyed with explosives, so just keep that in mind. The next secondary gadget here is an observation blocker. This is a small device that gets placed down and then spreads out either side, putting up a little barrier. Now don't worry, this isn't a barrier which is bulletproof, it's nothing like that. Rather, this only affects your enemy's observation tools by blocking that line of sight where this is spreading out to. It won't affect your friendly observation tools, such as your default cameras or your bulletproof cameras. they'll be fine. But if an attacking drone, for example, comes in counter with this, it's not going to see anything on the other side of it. But just remember, this is only for observation tools. This isn't going to stop a player looking at you through this. From an actual operator perspective, when you've got your gun up, there's no barrier at all. Next up, we have an impact grenade. This is a low damage grenade which explodes the moment it makes contact with anything, and is typically really good to make holes in a wall if you need to rotate out of a location, or open up a hatch if you need to get out of a sticky situation. But it is especially good at destroying attacker utility. If attackers have set up a shield in front of you, for example, and you need to deal with that to regain control of sight, you can throw an impact grenade at it and it will cause it to explode, getting rid of their cover. So don't think of an impact grenade as a frag grenade. It's not really going to be used for killing. If you do injure someone and throw it at them, for example, it will kill them, don't get me wrong, but they have to be extremely weak for it to kill them. These are more for destroying the environment as well as dealing with attacker utility. Next up, we have the nitro cell. This is more for killing. This is your C4. Throwing this at someone's radius and detonating it will cause them to just die with an explosion. It's very strong. Nitro cells come into play the best when attackers are going for a plant execute, and let's say someone is planting the diffuser, you lob a nitro cell across the room and blow them up. Even better, placing a nitro cell underneath a destructible floor and blowing it up when they walk over that area will make quick work of them. Nitro cells are important, and you only have one in your pocket when you choose it, so make sure you use it wisely. And the final generic secondary gadget for the defenders is the proximity alarm. These are small little electronic devices that when an enemy walks in its radius will make a little noise that sounds like this, alerting someone that you have triggered it. And just like the case with the attackers, the secondary gadgets are on top of that operator's already existing unique primary gadget. And this allows you to use all these gadgets in unison. Let's take Jaeger, for example. His primary gadget is the Magpie. This is an active defense system, which is typically referred to in other games as a trophy system. This will catch attacker projectiles and intercept them, preventing them from exploding. So let's say I'm playing Jaeger and I bring the bulletproof camera. I place it at the end of this hallway and an attacker sees it. They bring out the Gun 6, which is a secondary weapon which some attackers have, which has a single explosive impact round in it, and they want to destroy my camera. They go to take a shot at the camera, and oh, my ADS just caught that projectile and saved the camera. Those two gadgets have then just complemented each other. But it doesn't have to be my bulletproof camera. That could have been the bulletproof camera that one of my teammates brought, or one of their deployable shields. All of these gadgets work in unison on your team, and it's bringing the right ones and coordinating with your team depending on the situation, the map you're playing, and the bomb site you're playing to know which ones will work best. That's the beauty of Siege, is that everything can be done in a million different ways, and it's this huge game of 3D chess with about a million different variations. Now, we've talked about secondary gadgets on operators, let's talk about operators themselves. Now, I want to make something clear here. I cannot sit down in a video and tell you every single way that an attacker can counter another defender, and how defenders on top of this attacker can do this, but then this can happen. It's just impossible. Siege has been so perfectly crafted that there are, like I said a second ago, millions of different scenarios and variations which can happen. So the best way to learn how everything works to a fine point is genuinely just to play the game. If something happens in your game and you don't understand what happened, analyze it, go into the match replay, look what happened, maybe even ask the enemy, hey, what happened there? There's a lot of people who'll be willing to tell you how they outplayed you. Do not take failure in this game as a bad thing. They are all learning opportunities, and that was my personal most favorite thing about learning this game, was figuring out how I died. Whoa, well, how did that happen? I thought I'd done this. Surely this should work. Well, no, because this attacking operator done this, and then in unison with this other attacking operator, cancelled out your gadget, and they managed to get the upper hand. So I could sit here and make this video 100 hours long explaining every single potential scenario that happens in Rainbow Six Siege, but that's not possible. The best way to learn these operators is to play the game. That being said, it doesn't mean I won't make mastery guide videos of these operators. If you've liked how I've made this video and you want to see me make a video dedicated to each operator and how you can master them and, you know, all their synergies, all their counters, then do let me know in the comments. But I will give you a quick rundown of every operator in the game to give you a bit of a surface level entry to them. So let's start off with the attackers. Striker, we already talked about a second ago. They are one of the recruits and have access to 2 secondary gadgets at once. Sledge has a sledgehammer which can be used to destroy soft walls, hatches, and floors. It can even be used to destroy utility as well, such as bulletproof cameras, Maestro's evil eyes, deployable shields, and can even counter Clash by knocking her on her back. Swinging a sledgehammer can actually kill someone as well, but this is more for the memes. Thatcher has EMPs which will disable all defending electronic items in its radius. Compared to the secondary impact EMPs, they last longer and have a bigger radius of what they affect. Ash has breaching rounds which allows her to destroy soft walls, soft hatches, and floors, as well as utility at range. Thermite has exothermic charges that when placed on a reinforced wall will open a large entry point for his team to use. These can also open up hatches, but it's typically not the most practical use of a thermite charge, but if you need to do it, do it. Twitch has the shock drone which has a special zapping ability on it, allowing it to destroy defender utility. It will destroy pretty much anything a standard bullet would destroy as well. So if something's bulletproof, for example, you would have to find the same weak spot that you would if you were to shoot it. She has an unlimited amount of zaps, but you just have to wait for them to charge up, so make sure you don't get it shot. Montang has the extendable shield, which allows him to fully extend and protect his whole body, making him a great frontline operator, being able to relay information to his team as well as protecting them. I'll talk more about shields in their own section in a minute. Glaz is a marksman with a thermal flip sight available on his primary weapon. Although he can be seen as a sniper, it is mainly more of a DMR marksman rifle, and it does pack a pretty good punch. Enemies will be shown as yellow targets when using his sight, and also if there is smoke in an area, he can see through the smoke itself and catch people on the other side of it. Fuse has the cluster charge, which is a device that can be placed on both soft and reinforced walls, floors, and hatches, which will drill through to the other side of that said surface and deploy a cluster of micro grenades. If an enemy is in direct impact of this, it will kill them, but this is also great at destroying utility as well. Although he isn't technically a shield operator due to the fact he has the option of the AK as well as an LMG, he does have the option of a ballistic shield, which is a generic shield in the game, but he's currently the only one who has this, but it may potentially go to more operators soon. But this shield has no special ability like other primary shield operators do, like Monty for example with the extendable. It's just a bog standard shield. Speaking of shields, we have Blitz. He has the G52 tactical shield, and this is a shield which has a light bar on it, so when you get close to an enemy you can flash them, completely blind them, and use that as an opportunity to take them out. IQ has the electronic detector, which is a wrist mounted device that she can use whilst having her pistol out, and this will highlight every single electronic item on defense which is in her proximity, and you can then ping these items to let your team know where traps are, maybe there's some hidden cameras, but you can also spot defenders if they're on their phone, or if their gadget is an electronic one and they're currently using it, you can see that gadget and then in turn giving away the position of that defender. This can also be used to find the bomb site as well if you haven't yet already found it. Buck has the skeleton key underbarrel shotgun attached to both of his primary weapons, and this allows you to toggle between your main weapon or this underbarrel shotgun with ease, and this shotgun is mainly used for soft destruction, similar in scope to how you would use Sledge, but you're able to now do it at range as well. It can also be used as a lethal weapon, but its main use is more for destruction. Blackbeard brings the hull adaptable shield, and what makes him different from the other shield operators is that he actually brings a primary weapon on top of this. You have the option between the Scar or his DMR, and when you would like to ADS with this weapon, the shield will expose your head, but allowing you to then shoot back with an assault rifle. The moment you're done shooting, the head cover will go back up and protect your face once again. The shield is very smart and adaptable, so unlike other shield operators, when they go and repel, the shield just goes on their back. Blackbeard still keeps his in his hand, but it goes into a smaller, compact state, still granting you protection when you are playing on windows and on repel. The shield also has a dash ability, allowing him to break through soft walls, destroy utilities such as shields, and can even knock operators on their back, such as Clash if he uses the dash ability, but as a passive, all shields also have a knockback melee as well. Again, we'll talk about shields a little bit more in their own section. Capital brings the tactical crossbow, which has two separate options on it. The first are incendiary bolts that when deployed creates an area of effect of fire that will damage anyone standing in it, so it's great at pushing people out of locations. And the fire will always drop to the floor as well, so if you shoot it at the ceiling, it will land at the floor below that location. For his other option, he brings the micro smoke grenades. These are quite similar to the standard secondary smoke grenades, but the difference with Capital is that they will stick to any part he aims at. So if you would like to smoke higher up, for example, on the top of a doorway, they will deploy at the top of the doorway, whereas smoke grenades will always roll across the floor. Next up, we have Habana. She is our second main hard breacher, and she brings the X Cairo pellet launcher. These are small hard breaching devices, and she has the option of deploying 6, 4, or 2 at a given time, and this depends on how big you want the hole to be. When it comes to hatches, it does require 4 Cairo pellets to destroy a hatch. You can either do this in 2 sets of 2, 1 set of 4, and you can even place 6 on it, but then you're just technically wasting 2 since you only need 4 to open it. Next up we have Jackal. He has the Inox Model 3 tracker. This is a headset which he wears, and when activated you can see the footprints of any defender who is recently in that area. Scanning the footprint will relay a single ping of where that defender currently is to you and the rest of your team. The footprints don't last forever, so they will start to fade away after you've initially left them. Next up we have Ying. She brings the Candela. This is basically an advanced flash grenade. It is a small device that when detonated releases a cluster of flash grenades in the area. These can be cooked for a faster detonation, and as well as this, they can be deployed on soft walls, soft floors, and soft hatches to be deployed on the other side of that surface. Ying is also immune to the flashes she deploys. She will still be flashed by standard flashbangs, however, but she won't be affected by her own candelas unless she is being intercepted by Mute or Tuberal, but that's a little bit of an interaction. Next up we have Zofia. She brings the KS-79 Lifeline. This is a launcher which has 2 options, similar to how Capital's tactical crossbow has 2 options. The first one consists of an impact launcher, shooting an impact grenade wherever she aims. This can be used for map destruction and destroying utility. The second option she has on this lifeline launcher are the concussions. Shooting one of these concussion grenades will detonate after a few seconds wherever it lands, but if someone is in the radius of where it is, it can detonate faster. This allows you to then sort of suss out if someone is in a room or not, because if the concussion goes off pretty much instantly, that means that it's hit someone who is right there. Next up we have Dokkaebi. She has the logic bomb. Now, she has a few different aspects to her gadget, so let me explain. The first thing which Dokkaebi can do is that she can send a phone call to all of the defenders. Not only will this cause their phone to ring, giving away an audible position of where they are, but it will also prevent them from accessing their camera feeds whilst Dokkaebi has initiated this hack. The defenders can either put away their weapon and spend the duration to turn off this phone so the hack will stop and then they can re-access the feed, or they can just wait for the phone itself to ring out. Not only that though, when a defender is killed when Dokkaebi is on the board, doesn't have to be by Dokkaebi, but if a defender is killed, they will drop their phone. And if Dokkaebi goes up to the phone and hacks it, she will grant a full live access feed to all of the defenders' cameras to her and her team. Now, the defense will still have access to their cameras, but the attack will also have access as well. So both sides are basically going to be fighting over control of these cameras and using them both for their own gain and advantage. Lion has the EE-1D drone. This is a drone which is always above the map, and when he detonates it, it scans the map, and if any defender moves during its scanning process, it will ping their location to the entire attacking team. This means if you want defenders to be stuck in a location for a small period of time, you pop one of Lion's scans, and if they try and move, they'll be penalized. Finka brings along the adrenaline surge for the attacking team. From a narrative standpoint, before they go into the match, Finka injects nanobots with adrenaline surges inside of each of one of her teammates. Then, when she desires, typically if one of your teammates has taken a shot and lost some health, she can activate this adrenaline surge. This will grant a health boost to everyone on the team at the same time, but it will also revive any of your teammates who are currently injured as well. Unless they're in a frost map, it won't do anything there. Maverick brings along the breaching torch. Again, he is another hard breacher, but in a little bit of a different manner. The breaching torch allows him to make holes in reinforced walls. You can also do it in soft walls as well, but it's typically better doing it for reinforced walls. But this allows him to make line of sights or even openings in walls. The best part about Maverick is he technically has no counter. A bandit charge, mute jammer, or electric claw will do nothing to stop him. I know on paper it sounds like he's a bit of a no-brainer to always play then, since he technically can't be countered on a wall, but that's a lot easier said than done. You'll find that when you play him, it can be very dangerous and sometimes very inconvenient. That doesn't mean he's not a very strong operator, but you do have to be quite skillful to use him. Nomad has the air jab. This is a small device which is launched from an underbarrel launcher on her primary weapons, and if a defender walks in its radius, it will initiate a large repulsive effect, throwing them on their back, making them vulnerable, and it will even throw them through soft destructible walls if they do hit one. Gridlock brings along the track stinger. This is another flank watch device, and these are small barbed mats that when thrown down, deploys from the center mat in a circular pattern, and if a defender walks in them, it will slow them down and cause some damage, similar to a barbed wire effect. And although they can easily clear them just by shooting a single bullet at them, if they are going for a flank, that is then in turn going to give away their position. So very useful at putting them on staircases and flank locations so no one comes up behind you. Nook has the Hell Presence Reduction device. This is a tool which completely erases the image of Nook from any of the defender's cameras as long as she has it active. Just make sure you're not running, sprinting, shooting, or reloading, or doing any action which isn't walking, because then you'll appear as a little glitch on the camera and people will be able to suss out where you are. But as long as you're playing stealthy, they'll have absolutely no idea that you are actually on that feed. Amara brings along the Gara hook. This is a grappling hook device which allows her to fly in window barricades and also allows her to traverse up soft and open hatches and even fly up outside of skylights. This is good if you're going for maybe a fast plan or you've just drawn a room and you want to take it quick and you just get yourself out of sticky situations. Callie's gadget is the LV Explosive Lance, and this is attached to her primary bolt action sniper. The lance is a small device that when shot at a reinforced wall, soft floor, soft hatch, reinforced hatch, will destroy every gadget on both sides of it. So if you're using it to clear utility on the other side, just make sure you don't have a teammate who has something placed on your side because it will destroy both of them. Ayana has the Gemini Replicator. This is a drone projected decoy of herself that can be used as pretty much an advanced drone. It will copy the outfit you are currently wearing on Ayana as well as her loadout, as well as making noises that a normal operator would make. The only catch is that you cannot shoot since it's just a visual decoy, and you can also not cause any damage to the environment. So if there's a barricade in your way, tough luck, you can't get past it unless someone opens it for you. But she has an unlimited use of this, it just has to charge up. So basically, she has an unlimited drone. Next up we have Ace. He is another hard breacher and he brings along the Selma Aqua Breacher. This is a small device that when thrown at a reinforced wall, will open it up in stages. It will first open up a first slit which you cannot enter, and then a second one which does make it an enterable breach. Because it does open in stages, there are scenarios where the first one will open and then the second one will get destroyed. But the trade-off here is that he can do this at range and it does make him very powerful. If you want to open up a hatch, you are going to have to use 2 of these. Considering he only has a maximum of 3, it makes Ace not really viable at getting hatches. You can do it if you need to, but your main intention with Ace isn't necessarily for hatches. Next up we have Zero. You may know him as Sam Fisher. He brings along the Argus Launcher. This is a small device which shoots out micro cameras that will stick to surfaces. Not only can it stick to surfaces, if it gets shot at a reinforced wall, soft floor, soft or reinforced hatch, it can also drill through to the other side and you can switch between both sides of the surface by just pressing a single button. Not only this, he has the same zapping ability that Twitch's drone has, so it can lead to some really unique scenarios of being able to clear utility through different surfaces. Next up we have Flores. He has the RCE Rotero drone. These are explosive drones similar to an RCXD, but not as extreme, as they are vulnerable to being shot when they are driving, but then when you detonate it, they go in a bulletproof state and have a countdown. This means that people do have an opportunity to move away from the drone before it explodes, making it less of a lethal RCXD device, but more of a great area denial and utility clearing device. I'm not saying you won't get kills with this thing, but that isn't really its primary purpose. It's very good though at clearing utility and breaking down the defense. Osa has the Talon 8 shield, technically being a shield operator, but not really. The Talon 8 shield is a shield she can hold in front of her, but its main usage is placing it down on the floor and then using it as portable deployable cover. Once you're done, pick it up again, etc., place it down. This shield can also be placed on windows as well, giving you some cover, and you can also place it vertically on a window so the gap goes from the top to the bottom. If you want to destroy this shield, there is a little gas canister at the bottom and it will just completely destroy it. And as well as this, punching the glass will make it no longer be able to see through it, and you also can't pick it up after it's been shattered. As with most deployable utility in this game, a single explosion will destroy this. Sense brings the ROU projector system. This is a small device that rolls across the floor and deploys mini projectors as it goes. Sense then has the option to turn on these projectors, which creates a visual barrier. Now, this isn't bulletproof or anything, this doesn't stop stuff getting thrown through it, it is only a beam of light from a projector, so it will only just block views. You can still get shot through it. As of the time of recording, there is no utility that can see through these projected walls, so you do have the confidence that no one can see past them, but people can run through them and take you by surprise. You do have the option to toggle them on and off, but just remember there is a timeout period, so they won't last forever. Grim has the K1 Hive Launcher. This is a device which shoots out small little mechanical bees, which will give a live ping location of any defender which enters its radius. This makes it really good for roam clearing, flank watching, and just pretty much clearing rooms. If you shoot this in a corner of a room, you may end up finding someone hidden in that corner. It won't do any damage to anyone standing in it, but it will give away their live location, which is pretty much a death sentence. You also have two toggle options on it as well. The first will make it instantly stick to the location it hits and deploy the bees from there. The other is a one bounce option, meaning it will first bounce off the first surface it hits, then deploy after the second one. This just gives you a lot of flexibility of when you want to deploy it around corners, for example. Brava has the Clutch Drone. This is a drone in which she controls, and its ability is to hack any electronic item on defense and make it an attacker's item. From a newcomer's perspective, this is when stuff can get a bit confusing, but for example, we'll talk about Capcan in a second. He has the EDD traps, which are just booby traps you place on doorways. If an attacker walks into them, they blow up and do damage. If Brava was to hack one of these, that would make it an attacker's gadget, and it will display a sort of hacked signal on it. And as well as this, its team color will change. Make sure you take note of your team colors at the top of the screen so you know which gadgets are friendly and which one are your enemies. I personally have my friendly color set to blue and my enemies set to orange. You can toggle this in the accessibility options. But now that this Capcan trap is hacked, any defender which now walks into it will blow it up, and my attacking teammates will be fine. Think of her as simply the flipper. She can also hack all forms of cameras as well, and unlike Dokkaebi, who shares the feed with both sides, Brava will completely remove access from the defenders. So wherever you hack as Brava is no longer the defenders, it is now the attackers. But again, this is just for electronics. It won't work on mechanical items like a frost trap. Ram has the Boogie Auto Breacher. This is a massive breaching drone, and she doesn't necessarily control it like other drones. This is just something that she throws through windows and in rooms, and it will start to tear up the floor below it and also destroy anything in its path. You can select which direction you want this to go into, and then it will just do a continuous drive in that direction until it's finished. It can be destroyed early by shooting the canister at the back, but this makes her great for playing vertical, or if you have stuff in front of you that you want to clear. Next up we have Deimos. He brings along the Deathmark Tracker. Being canonically one of the villains of the story, and being our first ever playable villain in the franchise, Deimos has the ability to mark a single defender on the enemy team, who initially has to be spotted first, so you have to have droned out and found that they had this defender, but he is able to put a death mark on one of them, which will reveal their current live full location to Deimos, and only Deimos. No one else on the attacking team will see this, but the enemy you have targeted also gets the location of Deimos. Now, Deimos' one is a bit more accurate and it's more of a live ping, whereas the enemy's one is more of a gradual ping sweep happening every few seconds. But the whole goal of Deimos here is that you are isolating a single defender, so if you know that someone is roaming, you're going to isolate that operator and you're going to target and focus on them. Only Deimos will see this location, and only that enemy will see the location of Deimos. You're basically forcing someone to 1v1 you. And as of the time of recording, our latest attacking operator is Router. She brings along the Dom Panel Launcher, and this will deploy a bulletproof metal sheet on any doorway she aims at. Only doorways, not windows, just doorways. And this will go from the complete top of the doorway to the bottom. It will open up if drones want to enter, and it will shut again after they pass through. And if you or your teammates want to enter past this doorway, you can just shoot the target at the top and it will open up in a space of a second. And you can also close it again, open it again as many times you want. Defenders can also open it up if they get close enough and shoot the target as well. However, it will take 3 seconds to open for a defender, so it won't be as efficient for them. Well, let's now move over to the defensive operators. Our first one is Sentry. Like I mentioned before, he is one of the recruits, so he's basically just like the defensive version of Striker, having options of 2 secondary gadgets, but defending secondary gadgets. Smoke brings along the Toxic Babe gas grenades. These are poisonous gases that if anyone stands in, even his teammates, they will begin to take damage by choking on it. The only person in this game who is immune to it is Smoke himself. This is great for stopping plants, pushing people back, area denial. It's toxic gas. Next up we have Mute. He has the Signal Disruptor. These are little jammers that can be placed, and if any attacking electronic enters its radius, it will completely jam them until they destroy the Mute jammer itself. This is great for slowing down droning, messing with other electronic gadgets as well, and overall just slowing down the attacker's push. Castle brings along the armor panel. These are basically just reinforced barricades. Instead of them being able to be shot, they are completely bulletproof and can be destroyed with any explosive, as well as destroyed if you punch it 13 times. They can be placed on both doorways and windows just like any other barricade, and just grant you extra protection. Pulse has the cardiac sensor. This allows you to see the heartbeat of any of the attackers in your area. It's really good to pair him with the secondary nitro cell, so if you're playing below a bomb site for example and you see a heartbeat, you can throw your nitro cell and blow them up. Doc brings along the stim pistol. This is a small little needle which you can shoot at your teammates and it will heal them all back to full health. As well as this, if they are injured, it will also revive them as well at range. Just make sure you don't miss. Rook has the armor pack. Placing this at the beginning of the round, you allow all of your teammates to pick up a piece of armor. And what the armor does is it will give additional health to everyone who wears it, and it will also guarantee that the people wearing it will be injured if they are shot. Unless they get shot in the head. It's always going to be a one-shot headshot still. But if they are shot in the chest, it will guarantee that they get injured from it and not an instant death every time. Not saying you can't get injured if you don't wear the armor, but this consistently makes sure you're always injured. And when you are now in that injured state, you have the ability to self-revive yourself and pick yourself up. But your armor will then be gone and you'll also be a bit weak. Kapkan, like we mentioned before, has the entry denial device. These are small little booby traps that can be placed on doorways and windows, and if an attacker walks in them, it will blow them up. Tachanka brings the Shamika launcher. This is a grenade launcher which has incendiary grenades in them, so it will deploy fire. He has quite a lot of these and the fire lasts quite a short amount of time. And for his primary weapon, he also has the LMG, which used to be his gadget way back in the day, and this is great at tearing down walls and destroying the map. Jaeger brings along the ADS. You may know this as a trophy system. Basically, when placed, it will catch any projectile which is thrown at it, protecting you and your utility. One ADS will only catch one item before it goes into a cooldown period, and then it will be active once again. Bandit has these shock wire batteries, and we just typically call them bandit batteries. These are good for electrifying reinforced walls, which will prevent a hard breacher from opening it. You can also electrify deployable shields and barbed wire. Typically, people don't do this. Electrifying a barbed wire technically means you can use it as an anti-drone device, because if a drone walks into it, it'll destroy it, and there's not really much point in electrifying a deployable shield. You don't really see this happening that much. You're best saving them for your walls. And yes, you can place these on electrified hatches, but that doesn't really make much sense to do it because the people are just going to come over and shoot them and grab the hatch anyway. We have an operator who's good at electrifying hatches, and we'll get to him in a minute. Frost has the welcome map bear trap. These are, like I said, bear traps that if an attacker jumps into, they'll get injured. You have the option to pull yourself out of the frost mat, which will then grant you a limping effect, and you can no longer sprint. You'll be on low health, and you'll be making an audible noise, giving away your position, as well as leaving a trail of blood. But if an attacker's teammate assists them out of the frost mat, they won't have this debuff effect. They'll just be fine, but with their reduced 20 health. Valkyrie brings along the Black Eye camera. These are cameras that can be deployed anywhere on the map, wherever she wants. You just have to make sure these are inside the building, because if you throw a camera outside, it will lose connection. That's also a broad statement for all defending cameras. They must all remain inside the building. If they're outside for more than, I think, 7 seconds it currently is, they'll just be completely disconnected and you'll lose them. Kuvera has less of a gadget, more of an ability. She has the silent step mode. This makes her almost inaudible. She isn't completely silent, but it's very hard to hear her. And then when she injures an enemy, she has the ability to interrogate them, which will then reveal the location of every single attacker left on the board. This is a very high risk, high reward ability, but can change the round. Echo brings the yokai drones. These are small little drones he can drive around and stick to the ceiling, which can do a concussive blast to an enemy it is pointing at. Concussing an enemy will not only disorientate them and put them in a bit of a hard situation to fight back, but it can also take them off of planting animations, which is great if the time is ticking, and you can win rounds simply by stopping a plant by doing this if the timer reaches 0. And as well as this, it's great at dealing with people with shields, for example, because it will concuss them, put the shield to the side a little bit, and allow your teammate an opening to shoot them. Just think of this concussion as a bit of a denial device. It messes with the enemy and stops them from doing animations such as planting or placing a shield. X, Y, and Z. Mirror has the one-way black mirrors. These can be placed on soft and preferably reinforced walls, granting a bulletproof one-way view to the other side. Looking through it seems like a normal window, but on the other side it is completely blacked out and they can't see if you're on it. Just watch, however, if the canister on it gets shot, this mirror will get destroyed, leaving a hole there and making you vulnerable. As well as this, it can be shattered if someone walks up and punches it, and it will also be shattered if Ash or Callie use their gadget on it. Legion has the goo mines. These are small needles which he can place on the floor, and if someone steps on them, it will cause an initial burst of damage and also prevent them from sprinting and even planting, and then it will continue to do damage every tick you do not take it out. They are very annoying and they are the bane of my existence. Ella brings along the Gersmont mine. These are simply just concussion mines that will detonate if an attacker walks into it. It's the same concussion effect that Zophia's launcher does, since they are both sisters. And again, just like with any other concussion, this will stop you from doing certain animations such as planting or disabling a plant. So just keep in mind that Zophia can stop defenders from disabling an active diffuser using her one. And you can use the Gersmont mines on Ella the same way how I explained you would use Echo, for example. But these can be like pre-placed, and you can have them on doorways to watch your flank. It gives an indicator because it makes quite a loud noise, and of course that person is going to be vulnerable. Vigil has the ERC-7 cloaking device, a bit similar to Nook, but on defense. Vigil will be cloaked from attacking drones. However, it will display some white bars at the bottom, letting you know that Vigil is cloaking himself. But the same thing as well, if he sprints, for example, he will appear as a glitch. Maestro brings the Evil Eyes. They're a bit similar to bulletproof cameras. They can be placed down, but instead of an EMP blast, they will do a quick zap, quite similar to both Zero and Twitch, but at a faster rate, so it does take away quite a lot of health for you if you are going to be getting hit by this. This is great at stopping someone from planting, for example, because if they're trying to stick a plant and you're just zapping them to death, you're putting them in a really bad situation. But the zaps can be used to destroy utility as well. It is a bulletproof camera in the sense of when you aren't zapping people, so it does have a protective barrier which can also be shattered if it is punched, but when you open up the glass to actually zap, that is when it goes into a vulnerable state, because then it can then just be shot. The glass being shattered also doesn't necessarily render it useless, because you can still open it up, but you're not going to be able to see if it's in a safe position to open up. Alibi has the Prisma decoys. These are 3 decoys of herself, and if an attacker shoots them, it will ping their location. Unlike Ayana, however, this will always wear the default skin of Alibi. Clash brings along the CCE Shield Mark II. She is the only shield operator on defense, and this is a shield which can zap enemies and slow them down. You can also place the shield down if you want to go a bit more lethal and use it as some cover. Just know, however, when you place that shield down, you can pick it up again and place it as many times as you want, but when it is placed, it's going to be very vulnerable to being destroyed. A single explosion will make quick work of it, but if it is in your hand, it can't be destroyed in a traditional sense. Next up, we have Kaid. He brings the Electric Claw. He is quite similar to Bandit in the sense that he can electrify reinforced walls, reinforced hatches, barbed wire, and deployable shields. But rather than his being directly attached to these gadgets like Bandit, the Electric Claw just has an area of effect for wherever it is placed. Due to the fact that it is throwable, that makes it very viable for electrifying hatches from below. On paper, he sounds pretty much better than Bandit in every single scenario, but trust me, Bandit still has his place in the game, and they can both work very well in unison. Mozzie has the Pest Launcher. The Pest are little devices that if an attacking drone drives into it, it will jump on it, hack it, and then give Mozzie access to this drone to control for himself. This drone is now Mozzie's. He now owns it. He can't pick it up, but he can drive it around the map and set it up in little locations to then use as a defensive camera. Your fellow defenders will be able to access the feed as well, and the attacker will have no view or control over this camera anymore. Now, when we talked about the attacking operators, we also mentioned there were a few unique drones on attack. Mozzie's Pest can also hack Twitch's shock drone, giving him a shock drone to use for himself, so he can then zap attackers' gadgets and zap them. And he can also hack Brava's clutch drone. And if you're a newcomer hearing this, I'm so sorry that I'm going to have to explain this to you, because this is Pandora's box of an interaction in this game. Probably the most insane interaction in this game as all. We mentioned Brava's drone has the ability to hack defensive electronics and make them attacking electronics. If Mozzie's Pest hacks Brava's clutch drone, that is now Mozzie's clutch drone, meaning he can then use the clutch drone, which is his, to hack attacking electronics and make them defensive electronics. That then means that he can also use that clutch drone to hack more attacking drones as well, then also making them defending drones. But keep in mind, Brava has 2 clutch drones, so if she comes across any of these hacked Mozzie drones, or even her own hacked clutch drone, she can use her other clutch drone to re-hack that clutch drone and make it hers again. And if she drives into a pest again, it goes back to being Mozzie's. This is a very rare scenario. You don't get a lot of occasions where Mozzie actually ends up hacking a clutch drone, and even if he does, it doesn't usually pay off in anything. But from a programming standpoint, the interaction between Mozzie and Brava is absolutely insane. And when this got revealed for the first time, I was sitting in the crowd watching it like, oh my goodness, this must have been agony to make. But next up we have Warden. He brings along the Glance Smart Glasses. These are a pair of glasses he wears on his head, and when activated he is immune to flashbangs and can also see through smoke. Goyo brings along the Vulcan canisters. These are small explosive packs that when shot in the red part, again these can be zapped as well by Twitch, because like I've always said, the zaps in this game act like bullets in the sense of what they can and can't affect. But when these are exploded, it will deploy fire, which lasts for roughly 20 seconds. That's a very long time, so if you're able to stall the attackers for most of the match and have these on doorways and start popping them in the final 20-30 seconds of the round, they're basically just going to have no time to work with, because they're either going to have to try and brave this fire and most likely die, or wait until there's only like 10 seconds left for an execute. These are great at slowing down pushes and great for just stalling the attacking team, and of course killing anyone if you are in the position to pop one whilst they're in the radius. Wamai has the magnets. He's sort of an alternative to Jaeger, but instead of him having ADSs/trophy systems which destroy projectiles, he has magnets which drag away the projectiles. So if an attacker throws a grenade, for example, it won't destroy the grenade, it will grab the grenade, pull it towards where the magnet is, reset its timer, and explode it in that location. So it's less of a projectile destruction device, but more of a, hey, move this thing over here. If they throw a grenade, I want it to go back to them. Oryx's ability is that he's just pretty strong. He has the Rima Dash, which allows him to run through soft walls. He does take a small bit of damage for this, but he can also climb up hatches as well. Now, another key feature of the Rima Dash is if you do run into an attacker, you will knock them on their back, similar to if they get hit by Nomad's air jabs. But he is best using this against shield operators because he'll just completely push them on their back, put away their shield, and take them down. Melusi brings the Banshees. These are small little devices that when an attacker walks into their radius, it will begin to open up and slow them down. When they are closed, they are bulletproof, and when they are activated, they can be shot in the middle. Think of them as essentially electronic barbed wire. If you walk into its radius, it will begin to slow you. Aruni has the Surya gates. These are electronic gates that can be placed on windows, doorways, and hatches, and on walls as well, and they will open up for any defender that wants to enter them, but it will not open for an attacker. If an attacker wants to walk through it, they will get some damage from it. It's not an insane amount, but they will take damage and it will give a sound cue. And as well as this, it will destroy any attacking or defending utility which is thrown in it. Now, if someone does walk into it or something is thrown into it, it will disable the gate for a small period of time, and you can reactivate the gate by shooting the little target at the top. Thunderbird brings along the Kona stations. These are small little healing stations that if you walk into when you have low health, will give you a little pick-me-up health boost. These will only activate for defenders, but like I was talking about a second ago, if Brava hacks it, she flips it and it will activate for attackers. Thorn has the Razor Bloom. These are small explosive devices that when attackers walk into its radius will begin a detonation process. If they explode, it will kill the attacker, but you also have some time to react as it will show you an icon and you can shoot it before it actually explodes. Azami brings along the Kiba barrier. This is a kunai knife which deploys a gas which instantly solidifies and creates a bulletproof barrier. This barrier can be destroyed if it is punched 3 times, hit with any explosive, and can actually be destroyed by bullets as well. I know I say it's bulletproof because bullets won't go through to the other side, but hitting it enough with bullets will cause it to deteriorate and break. Solace has the Spec IO electro sensor. This is disabled during the prep phase, but when the action phase starts, it allows her to see attacking gadgets which are electronic, such as drones, for example, or someone on their phone controlling the drone. It will show you that there is something there, but it won't explicitly tell you what it is unless you go into a state of overdrive, and then it will tell you what electronic you are exactly looking at. The best way of describing her is she is sort of like a defensive version of IQ. Fenrir has the F0 dread mines. These are small little hallucination gas mines that when you walk into it will detonate and cause the person who is inside of it to hallucinate and not be able to see very far. It will only trigger if an attacker walks into it, but if a defender is in this radius, they will also breathe in the gas and be affected as well. Of course, Brava can switch its sides, as she can do with most electronics. And the thing with Fenrir as well is that he has 4 of these dread mines, but he can only have 2 active at a given time. He does this with his phone and some codes, and he can turn them off and on. If one of the active ones are destroyed, he'll get that code back and then can apply it to another one. Tubero has these Zoto canisters. This is a chemical reaction which causes a deep freeze to occur and will freeze both attacking and defending gadgets it touches, whether they're electronic or mechanical, because it will still freeze mechanical processes as well, and it will also mess with electronics of operators. So if an operator is frozen, they can't go on their phone because it's messing with their electronics. If Ying throws a candela and she is frozen, it will mess with her visor and she'll get blinded by her own flashes. And what it does to devices is it basically freezes their fuse timer. So if you've set off a thermite charge and it's about to detonate, but it gets frozen, it doesn't reset the timer of the thermite charge, for example, but it just freezes it in place. And when that Zoto canister then finishes and the freezing ends, it'll go right back to where it was. So the Zoto canister is a stalling device. They start breaching a wall that you're not prepared for, you freeze it. You then get Bandit to quickly run over and hope there's enough time for him to get his battery on that wall to then counter that thermite charge. It will also slow you down if you're walking in the freezing effect. And if you are walking in the freezing effect and someone is below you, they'll be able to see your footprints through the floor. And as of the time of recording, the most latest defender is Skopos. She has the shells. So when you play Skopos, you're playing as Kure Galanos. She was in the older Rainbow Six titles, and she was involved in an incident alongside Deimos, who defected from Rainbow years ago, and this incident left Kure paralyzed from the leg down. So she operates from a wheelchair in her control center. And when we pick her, we are playing as Kure, who is operating her 2 shell robots. So when you spawn in, both of these shells are deployed, but you can only play as one as a given time. The one which isn't being played is in a defensive state where it puts up a deployable shield, and it can also be used as an idle camera for you and your team. The one you're playing as acts like any other operator, with a few little changes that they can't be affected by gas because they're robots. They can still be flashed though, keep that in mind. But let's say you're playing as the shells and you have one in sight and you're away roaming. You get a call from your teammates that the enemies are in sight. Well, that's okay. What you're going to do is you're going to switch to the other shell, and now that one is playable. So the one you were just playing as goes into the defensive state of putting up a shield and then also becoming a camera. You can switch between both of these shells as many times as you like. Only one is playable at a given time. The other one becomes idle. Now, something I want to clarify here is that this doesn't give you 2 lives. If the one you are playing as dies, you're out. If the idle one gets destroyed, you're fine, because the one you're playing as is still in operation. It just means you can't switch anymore because your other one's been destroyed. So if the one you are physically playing as at that time is dead, you're out of the round. The other one will still remain operative as a shield and camera, but obviously not playable. Now, they both have different pools of health and ammunition. So if you are lower health on one of them and you switch to the other one, yeah, that one has more health, so you can sort of cheat death in a sense. Or if you quickly run away from a gunfight and then switch to the other one and then that other one dies, which you just left behind, yeah, you are escaping. But if you are dying as that active one, you're still being punished for it. The only thing which remains between them is the secondary gadget. If you bring impact grenades, you're getting your standard 2 impact grenades. You're not going to get 4 because you're switching between them. They both share the same pool, which is just for balancing. But yeah, it's basically the most grounded, realistic way that we could have an operator that teleports, basically. It's 2 robots and you switch between them. So as of Operation Daybreak, that is every operator in Rainbow Six Siege. I did mention a second ago that I want to talk about shields, so we're going to do that now. So like I mentioned, the shields which are currently in this game is Monty, Blitz, and Blackbeard on attack. We have Fuse as well, who does have the option of the bog standard ballistic shield, so we can include him here. And Osa can be classed as a shield operator, but I'm not going to talk about her in this section because she doesn't have these abilities. But we are going to also mention Clash, who is the defender. So as a standard, all shield operators can bash through barricaded doors and jump through barricaded windows. This is just something which shields can do. As well as this, when you melee someone with a shield, you do a knockback effect which pushes them on their back, sort of like a light version of an Oryx Dash and a light version of a Nomad Air Jab effect, and this obviously puts them in a vulnerable position. Now, let me talk about some ways how you deal with shields. The first is the suppression effect. When you shoot at a shield's shield, they will begin to be suppressed. One of the major things this does is that it stops them from being able to sprint while they have this debuff effect applied. If you want to keep topping this up, you have to keep shooting their shield. And the next thing you can do to a shield is meleeing them. Hitting them with a melee attack will push their shield to the side. If you keep repeatedly hitting them, it will continue to make this a wider swing of how much of their body they're exposing. So make sure you just keep hitting them as much as you can. A good shield player can be quite intimidating, and I am known as quite a good shield player. So make sure you learn how you can counter them, and make sure you have a teammate as well to help you deal with one. Right, let's start talking about guns, weapons, and aiming. I want to say something here. If you don't have the best aim in the world, that's fine. Siege is a game where you can succeed without being the best gunner. You're going to be seeing a lot of clips and a lot of different stuff from YouTubers of them doing like insane flicks and blah blah blah, like insane gunplay. And this isn't to downplay them or diss them, but I don't want you to watch those videos and think that that is how you have to be good at Siege and that's how Siege has to be played. I'm going to tell you right now, all of that is just for flashy clicks. People find it interesting, people make videos for it, but that doesn't have to be how you play the game, and you can succeed by not playing like that. There are even pro players who objectively have alright aim, nothing crazy, but they are at the top of the game because of their map knowledge, because of their operator synergies, because of how they play in a team. So don't get discouraged because you might not have the best aim in the world. Let's start talking about weapons and mainly their attachments. When it comes to scopes, you have three major categories in the game. There are a few more, but only a few ops have them. The first is the iron sight. Of course, every single gun has an iron sight. The benefit of running an iron sight is that you get a faster aim down sight time. So if you want to aim faster, run iron sight. And then the large abundance of scopes in this game are just your standard one-time scopes. These go from red dot to holographics to reflex. There are a few of these in the different categories. There's not an objectively best one. They're all the exact same of each other when it comes to a statistical standpoint. Use whichever one you're comfortable with or like. Don't think about that too much. People really like using the holographic A, but again, pure preference. Use whatever you like. Now we move into the magnified scopes. These are typically known as ACOGs. Now, every single attacker in the game has an ACOG or a magnified scope. When it comes to defense, it's a bit of a balancing nightmare because a lot of people will gravitate towards an operator if they have this scope, and it's been a balancing issue for a long time. It has been shown statistically that giving it to all the attackers doesn't really break the game in anything because defense inherently has an advantage in this game. They have the map already and they have the timer on their clock, so attackers are the ones having to push into the building. Them having the magnified scopes doesn't really affect balancing as much as it does on defense, because on defense, if you have an ACOG, well, you have a bit of a big advantage because you have to remember attackers are having to push into your angles. They're the ones assaulting the building. So the current common consensus is if you are playing a defender who has a magnified scope, you should probably run it. I personally don't like magnified scopes being on defense because of the balancing issue they are. I wouldn't even be surprised if at some point in the future they're not even on defense anymore, and maybe you're watching from a period in time where they aren't on defense. You're like, what is this guy even talking about? But I guess common consensus right now, if your operator on defense has an ACOG, use it. But just don't let it get you in any bad habits. Just remember, we're not playing COD. Let's move over to the grip. So firstly, we have vertical grip. This just helps you with recoil control. So if maybe a gun's a bit too high recoil for you, stick on the vertical grip. This should help you out there. We have the angled grip. This allows you to reload your weapon faster. I'll be perfectly honest, I don't really use this on any operator. I don't feel like I'm ever in a position where I'm desperately needing to reload. If you're playing this game smart, collected, and coordinated, you'll be in a lot of situations where you're perfectly safe to reload anyway. So I don't really see the point in sacrificing recoil control and what horizontal grip does as well, we'll talk about in a sec, just for a faster reload. But if you feel like that's your playstyle, run the angled. And we also have the horizontal grip, and this just increases the movement speed of your operator, so it just makes you move a little bit faster. I will be honest, using the horizontal grip on operators who are 3-speed, because we have a speed and armor rating in this game, using them on 3-speed operators, you do actually feel like you're going quite fast, so I do like using it on operators such as Pulse. But he already has quite a low recoil weapon because the UMP doesn't have a high fire rate, so I don't really need the vertical grip to assist me with my aiming. But if you do, that's perfectly fine. When it comes to underbarrel, we only have one in this game, and that is the laser sight. The laser sight allows you to also have a faster ADS, so if you're stacking this on top of an iron sight, you're going to have quite a fast ADS time. The reason why there is a downside to using the laser sight is because enemies can see your laser. It's going to be a constant laser stream from your weapon the entire round. And Ubisoft have actually done a very good job of making it a very accurate laser stream that anyone on the map can see. So if an enemy or you are holding an angle, for example, other people are going to see your laser sight and know exactly what angle you're holding and where you are. I'll be honest, I think the trade-off of having faster ADS time compared to constantly giving away my position is something I don't personally use. I'm trying to move away from using a laser sight. But my goal of this video isn't to say you must copy how I exactly play the game and try and push you away from using anything else. If you want faster ADS time, by all means, use the laser sight. It's not going to give away your position 100% of the time. I'm just saying from my personal experience, it's something I'm trying to move away from. And finally, we have the barrels. The first one is the flash hider. This is going to help you with your vertical recoil weapons. We next have the compensator. This is going to be useful on weapons which have more of a side-to-side horizontal recoil. We have muzzle brake. This reduces the overall kick of single shot firing, so this is going to be great on DMRs and other weapons you'd typically single tap with. We also have the suppressor. This is of course going to suppress your weapon. You still can't hear it. They've not went the unrealistic route of all suppressors are completely silent. You still can hear suppressors. But one of the big things is the bullet trails are less visible. If you shoot at someone in this game, they kind of get an indicator of which direction that bullet came from. If it's with a suppressor, it's pretty much non-existent of that indicator. So that's sort of like the main draw of suppressor, is if you're like shooting someone, there's not really going to be a massive giveaway of what direction that actually came from. And next up we have the extended barrel. The main thing for the extended barrel here is it reduces the rate of damage drop off, and it actually increases the damage of your weapon. I know that sounds like, oh, well, surely we should just go for this one if it makes our weapon stronger. Not necessarily, because it only goes up by a small percentage. So statistically, in some cases, even though you're making a weapon stronger, because of obviously like you're fighting an enemy which has like 120 HP, for example, you'll still be using the same amount of bullets to kill that enemy, if that makes sense. Like, even though you're making it stronger, you're still turning this weapon from a 4-shot kill to a 4-shot kill. That's a lot of stuff to get into in this video, basically telling you what every weapon is the best with, but let me know if you want me to dive more into like best weapon loadouts. But it's not like there's going to be a loadout that you're going to mess up and completely never succeed with. There's not really anything such as an OP loadout in Siege. All the stuff is pretty well balanced that even if you put what some people would deem the wrong stuff on it, you'd still completely succeed in most of your gunfights. So don't dwell on attachments too much. But yeah, if you want to improve your aim, use those training modes. I think TDM is a really good place to get used to the mechanics of Siege. And of course, you've got Dual Front, which has respawns and stuff like that. And I'll talk about Dual Front in its own section, like I already mentioned. Right, so let's talk about sound. Sound is one of the most important things in Rainbow Six Siege. Everything you do in this game emits sound. From shooting, to walking, to placing a gadget, and typically most gadgets have their own unique sound as well. Ubisoft have made a very big effort to make sure that everything in this game sounds unique, even if they are quite similar. I mean, just take a look at all these different heart breaching devices. You think they'd all sound pretty similar. I mean, they're doing the same job, right? Well, no. Even if you aren't looking at any of these, you can tell just by the sound which heart breach device this is, and this applies to everything in this game. Take a listen. So as you just heard, all of these have their own unique sounds, and as is everything else. That's why a standard flashbang sounds different to one of Ying's Candela flashbangs. They want you to be able to distinguish what you are hearing uniquely. So everything makes sound. It can be important sometimes to muffle sounds. If you're going for a plant, which makes a sound, you may want to hide that, so you use a loud gadget to mask that sound. But let's also talk about how sound travels in this game, and this is a little bit of an important fact here. So we have a wall here. There is sound on both sides of these walls, and the sound has to travel through this wall. Sometimes you will hear stuff between these walls, but if they're pretty enclosed, it will be very quiet. If you have something like a drone hole beside the wall, then you're gonna start to hear a little bit more, because sound will travel through this drone hole. Or if there is a doorway, you'll hear the sound coming through the doorway. Now, if I was to make a hole in the wall, we would now get sound traveling through this hole. Now, let's say we have these two walls here. One has a hole in it and one doesn't. I'm going to reinforce both of these walls, but one of them has the hole behind it and the other does not. Now, this side, which has the non-shot wall and the reinforced wall, this is now 2 layers in which sound has to travel through. But this side, which has a reinforced wall and a destroyed wall behind it, technically, there's now only 1 layer this has to travel through, which is the reinforced wall, because the other side is broken. Layers of objects can affect sound. Objects of anything affect sound. There's a little tip when it comes to windows. Here we have a window with glass and a barricade. Use what I just talked about and apply the knowledge here. There are 2 layers to this window, the barricade and the glass itself. Sound has to travel through both of these objects. So if we want to hear what's happening on the other side of this barricade a bit more clearer, if we remove the glass from this window, sound now only has 1 layer to travel. It's going to be a bit more audible. We can apply that to our operators as well. If we are fully sprinting down a hallway, we are of course going to be making more noise. If we are walking slowly, it's going to be more quiet. And if we are slow walking and even crouched, we're going to be even more quiet. But even your little micro adjustments make a lot of noise as well. When you reload, you make a noise. When you ADS, you make a noise. You have to be very conscious that every movement you're making can potentially expose where you are. Let's take a 1v1 scenario here, for example. I have absolutely no idea where this enemy is, so what I am going to do is play as quiet as possible and hope that they slip up. Now, if I was just doing small little movements, like even turning fast or shuffling, listen to how much noise I am actually making. All that noise is also going to be heard by the enemy, and I've just given away my position. The game is realistic in that way. Just think about it in real life if you were playing hide and seek. If you were hiding in a wardrobe and someone was looking for you in that room, would you start to move left and right whilst in that wardrobe? No, you probably wouldn't. Everything you do makes sound, so make sure you're quite conscious on what you're doing and if it's actually worth doing at that moment. Right, let's talk about Dual Front. Dual Front is the brand new game mode that was introduced with Siege X, and the moment this game went free to play was also a release of this game mode itself. Dual Front is a 6v6 mode which takes a wide open map and introduces a new way to play Siege with dynamic objectives and defending and attacking bases. I personally really like Dual Front, and one of the big new changes which Dual Front introduces for that mode is that there is no such thing as an attacker and defender. Just like in the lore, these are one big team and all these operators are working together in unison. So this allows for a lot of unique gameplay, and as well as this, that means each operator can both repel, drone, and reinforce and barricade, just like an attacker and defender would be able to do in core Siege itself. It's a really fun mode. However, I do think there is a potential that you can pick up some bad habits from Dual Front. For example, I got a question about drone battery, and I was like, what are you talking about? Well, it turns out in Dual Front, your drones have battery timers on them. That's something that simply doesn't exist in core Siege. And again, this isn't a diss to Dual Front, and I don't think Dual Front has to, limit itself to what core Siege does. I think it's fine that it can introduce new things, but I just want to make you aware that as much as I personally love Dual Front, core Siege is still the main draw of Siege. If you are playing Dual Front and you are sort of like wanting to play more core Siege, maybe practice a bit more in core Siege. You don't want to get yourself in bad habits in Dual Front. For me, Dual Front is a nice change of pace because I've been playing this game since I was 15. So having a new way to play these operators, having a more sort of laid back, casual, fun style of Dual Front, I love it. And I know when there's something a little bit different, I'm like, well, that's a little quirky change they made for Dual Front. But if you're a new player, I can see you potentially picking up bad habits from Dual Front. So if you are wanting to focus more on the core side of Siege when it comes to just learn more in Siege, in the core Siege mode. I love Dual Front, but just keep that as the separate mode, if that makes sense. So for an initial beginner's guide, I think this is a good place to leave this here. If you feel like maybe I didn't cover some other subjects you would like to have heard, or if you want me to go in more depth with some other stuff, then drop that in the comment section below. I'm more than happy to make new guides for the new players. I'm so excited that you've joined this community, and hopefully you enjoyed this video. Maybe consider subscribing and using my creator code Kudos in the store if that's something you feel you'd like to use. Of course, no pressure. I just appreciate you watching this video to begin with. And yeah, if you'd like to join me on the journey, hit that sub button. I make a lot of Siege content every day, both long form and short form, so if that's something you're interested in, then be sure to join it in. I'm also known as the R6 lore guy, so if you want to learn more about the story of these operators and the actual story which is happening in the background here, check out my videos. But yeah, have an incredible rest of your day. I love you all. Stay safe.